going to start making my stuffed tomatoes. I'm going to use these right here. It normally will, this recipe is kind of mainly for like a big batch of tomatoes, like maybe about like 6 to 8, and I only have 5 right here. So it's supposed to have 5 pieces of bread. I'm only going to use 2. You can use breadcrumbs if you want to. I got 2 cloves of garlic. I got fresh basil. Aren't those gorgeous? And then I have cilantro. Oh, these smell so amazing. And they're 99 cents at the grocery store, so that was a good one. You need scallions or some onions, but I'm going to use the rest of my red onion. You're gonna need some thyme and then some salt and pepper, and then to put on top I have low fat moisture part skim mozzarella cheese. So that's pretty much what you make. This is all the ingredients. I'll link everything down below. Okay, next is my bowl here. I'm gonna place everything in there in a minute, but I do use I have one of these, and I don't have a blender, but if you have a blender or something to chop things up, then definitely would suggest using something like this or whatever you got. You're going to take your slices of bread, place them on the cutting board, and then slice them into smaller pieces. I like to slice mine in cubes so that it'll make it easier to place into my chopper blender. Next, you're going to take a handful of your fresh cilantro, and you're going to cut off the stems there, and then run your knife through, and then place about 1 cup of cilantro into your blender. And then you're also going to take 1 cup of your fresh basil as well and add that to your blender. Now in this video I am cooking a smaller batch, so I myself am only putting about maybe 3/4 cup each of the cilantro and the basil. But if you plan to make the full batch of tomatoes, I would use 1.5 cups each. And it all depends on what kind of heaviness of a fragrance that you enjoy as well. So you could always add more. This is such a lovely fragrance. It smells delicious. Fresh garlic cloves. Again, I'm only using half, so I have 2 very large garlic cloves, but the recipe calls for 4 fresh garlic cloves. But if you're like us, we just love garlic. So I have 2 very jumbo garlic cloves that I'm just simply going to mince up. Sprinkle in about 1 teaspoon of salt and then 1 teaspoon of black pepper. And then for me, I added 1.5 teaspoon of thyme. And for a bigger batch, I would definitely use 1 tablespoon of thyme. Simply set your mixture aside, and then now it's time to chop up your onion. I would say about finely chopped. Now you can use 2 scallions, what is called for in the recipe if you're doing a big batch, but right here I'm using only 1/4 of a red onion. I feel that the red onion was just perfect for this stuffed tomatoes, but of course it depends on what you like and what your preference are. But if you're going to use an onion, I would probably use half of an onion finely chopped. Then I added 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. But if you're going to do the bigger batch, I would definitely do 3 tablespoons. You can also add at this point 1 teaspoon of butter just to give it an extra boost if you like, but I chose not to. Instead, I chose cheese. So I use a 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese. Stir well because you're really trying to get a very nice moist consistency. Now cut your tomatoes in half and try to take out the seeds and the core as best as you can. Sprinkle a little bit of that extra virgin olive oil at the bottom of your dish so that the tomatoes will not burn while you bake. Okay, now to prepare your tomatoes, you're just simply going to sprinkle a little bit of salt and then a little bit of the black pepper. Alright, now we're ready to stuff the peppers. Simply just take a spoon and just kind of pack it into the core of all those tomatoes. These just came out just perfectly. Now I left 1 tomato cut in half just with salt and pepper just in case for my mom, but these actually stuffed 4 tomatoes which you cut in half, and it would feed about 4 people. 1 tomato or 2 halves per person. So these just turned out great. Don't they look beautiful? OMG. Okay, now you're going to place these in a 400-degree preheated oven for about 15 minutes, and you want to check on it, and depending on your oven. Okay, they just came out of the oven after about 18 minutes or so, minus the 2 that I put in my husband's lunch before he left, and then I replaced it with 2 of the plain ones with salt and pepper for my mom, just in case she doesn't really care for these, and that they turned out really, really nice. A little bit on the top, just a tad bit crispy is kind of what you're going for, but again, you can also sprinkle cheese on top, like Asiago, mozzarella, whatever, if you prefer more cheese on top. But for us, I think I'm just going to go a little bit easy on the cheese for us. You should try this. The cheese with the garlic and all the flavors are just exploding in my mouth. OMG.